Average Dude has something to say about...
Okay, everybody, welcome back. In the last episode, I had a message to the normal people who do not experience maladaptive daydreaming disorder, and I had a message for them. That first of all, it's okay for them to acknowledge that it exists. They don't have to pretend like society, like human society all over the world simply does not want us to acknowledge that it's there. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to have questions. Okay, they don't have to pretend like they don't notice. It's okay for them to want to find out what it's all about. Keep in mind that they have no way of knowing because they're not experiencing it. Now, this particular video is for the maladaptive daydreamers out there, and I am sure that those who have subscribed to my channel have a very small following, and I'm sure that a good number of them joined on because I discussed the topic of maladaptive daydreaming disorder in the first place, and I wasn't trying to make it out to be, oh, look how horrible this thing is, or how good it is for that matter. Just I was just flat out just genuine. Just, these people exist. This situation, we don't have to pretend anymore. Let's talk about that. I have a message to the maladaptive daydreamers. Look, I discussed not that long ago, in 2 videos prior to this one, no less, a little bit of the history of how this came about, where Cordelia Rose, Amethyst Rose, she allowed herself to be a guinea pig, and people like Dr. Eli Sommer and others, colleagues, that have been made fun of and have been disregarded by the medical community at large, they dared research this, and she allowed herself, Cordelia allowed herself to, for her name and for her personal information to be used in their research, as she was the face, the first physical face of maladaptive daydreaming. How many of you owe your entire, up to this point, your ability to acknowledge because of her bravery, because she started it all? She deserves respect for that. She was the first to ever come out in front of via the likes of the broadband spectrum of the internet and say, I'm one of these people that excessively daydreams a lot more than the rest of you. Whew. Others have come out since then, and this is the one thing that I want to, this is my message to you. First of all, you are braver than you will ever know for coming out. Also, be very, think about it before you come out. Be very comfortable with coming out, because you never know how people are going to use that information. I discussed that 2 videos ago, where a teenage girl, I didn't mention her name, but someone did, from Wild Minds Network, some guy who identified with maladaptive daydreaming disorder. I think he wanted to do he just simply wanted to, spread awareness, but he made it very clear that he didn't feel like coming out himself, and yet he was outing this girl. And that family went through a whole bunch of stuff. So understand before you come out that people will, whether they have good intentions or bad, ultimately the results can be damaging. So whatever you put out there via the likes of websites like Wild Minds Network or the Experience Project that also has a section for maladaptive daydreaming disorder discussions, be careful. Or via YouTube or anything for that matter, any forum out there on the internet, be careful about coming out. You never know. Be very comfortable with that decision that you are making, and you are very brave if you do. Now, having said that, this is me asking those of you who are coming out, think about what it is that you are saying when you come out. Be very careful how you go about coming out. All right? Do not exaggerate or embellish. There are those that I'm seeing and I question just how it's almost like they're trying to get attention, and whether or not I don't want to come and just say that they don't have maladaptive daydreaming disorder, although I tend to wonder with some of these. But especially if they all do not exaggerate. Okay? Understand that by your coming out, you are the first wave, and there is a responsibility and an accountability that comes with that. Remember, the normies out there, they don't understand what you are going through. There are steps that for any process, for anything, for any subject matter to be accepted. This is what we go through. The first step is avoidance. Refusal to acknowledge that a situation exists, okay? We're familiar with that one because we're never supposed to talk about the people that excessively daydream. And we all know that they exist, and we always have. We've always noticed those people who are head in the clouds all the time, muttering into thin air, la la land. We've always known. The second step is denial. Now, we are currently still mostly in the avoidance category, but we're creeping into denial. If you'll look on these websites, you'll hear from people, quote, that's not a real condition, or I think it's silly that they put a name to it. In other words, no respect. They want to deny that it exists, even though we all know it exists. It's too painfully obvious. We're still avoiding, or, basically, quote, this doesn't deserve research like other situations do that are genuine and should have research. Yeah, and you'll see a lot of that, like on Wild Minds Network, that's creeping in. Cordelia Rose, you really need to start, wow, get a hold of that website. It's getting toxic. But for those who have maladaptive daydreaming disorder, you're going to see a lot of that. You look at these forums online and you will see a lot of people refusing to acknowledge that it is a situation, that it does exist. Now that the internet is in existence and people are talking about this, we are creeping into the denial category. Now, what comes after denial? When you have hit the point where you can no longer deny it, the third category is fear and paranoia, and I will get back to that one because that is where the real problems and suffering for maladaptive daydreamers starts. You think that you're suffering now? Ooh, you are better off suppressing it like a cork in a bottle, keeping the pressure, keeping it a secret. And yes, it's got to be. It's horribly toxic to normal people as well, especially maladaptive daydreamers, to not be able to come out and just talk about it. That's what a lot of them want to do, without the fear of what the consequences are going to be, what the reactions are, and being made fun of, and via the likes of the internet, no less. Okay? After the fear and paranoia, you will hit the acknowledgement, where the medical field will start to finally acknowledge that maladaptive daydreaming disorder exists, and they will legitimize it. Nobody believed, for the most part, that bipolar disorder existed. They called it manic depression for a while, and guess what? We went through those avoidance, because it's always been there, and we avoided it. We refused to acknowledge or talk about it. We pretended like we never noticed. And then came denial when we started talking about it. Deny it. Oh, it's not a real situation. And then, when it was too obvious that fear and paranoia, and you had a bunch of people that they were considered freaks, and they didn't get the help that they deserved. And then you finally had the acknowledgement from the medical field, where most of the research that needed to be conducted to get real answers and real help for these people finally take place. And then, after that, and it takes a long time, acceptance. But it goes through each and every one of those steps. The one that I am the most concerned with is the third one, the one in the middle, fear and paranoia. For those of you that come out, what you say, how you present maladaptive daydreaming disorder, it affects everybody else that has maladaptive daydreaming disorder now or will, as some have not been born and they come into this world and they have it and they have to go through it. Understand that what you say and how you present this to the world is going to have an impact. Think very carefully of how you're doing this. Because in order to get help, you have to convince the normies out there that you are not a threat. When that fear and paranoia hits, the majority of the normies have to be either undecided and unsure or in support. Not against you. Not fearful of you. Not thinking that you're a dangerous freak. Don't embellish. Please. Other than that, got a lot of respect for all of you that are coming out. Take care.